What's up, BAMF Hammer Nation? Welcome to the 6 essential movements with the bodybuilding and mobile functionality hammer. This first series has a very specific purpose. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna go through the 6 movements that I believe are the most necessary to learn first, the proper protocols to go through all of them, to put you on a good foot to start your training with a BAMF hammer, all right? If you have certain types of athletic experience inside or outside of the gym, kettlebells, maces, calisthenics type work, you're gonna be at a slight advantage with some of this stuff. But regardless, no matter what your training age, start from the beginning, embrace the frustration of having to go slow, and really put down the reps necessary to get a good foundation here. One of the things that I like to reference all the time is this is like jazz music. You have to learn to play scales before we can start breaking the rules and playing jazz. And that's from somebody who plays no music at all. Before we get started, I wanna shout out some friends over at Whiteboard Daily, okay? I am using a stick figure to break some stuff down, and he is really good at this and I am not, so shout out to him because this is hard. Where we're gonna go, well, before I do that, what you're gonna see in each of these videos is a breakdown here at the board of what we're gonna be expecting with the movements, and then a demonstration in the gym of the movement itself with a video breakdown as well. What really that's gonna come down to is a lot of redundancy. You're gonna hear me say the same thing over and over and over again. But just like you would in a gym setting, the cues aren't necessarily going to change. We're gonna be looking for the same body positions most of the time. It's just gonna take you as the athlete developing the mind-muscle connection necessary to keep these reps moving accurately most of the time. And yeah, so here's where we're gonna start. We're gonna start with the pulse. This one is new. If you've been with us for a little while, we used to have 5 essential movements, then we added the pulse because I think this one is necessary. This is gonna be your starting position. What we're looking to create is this yellow line here, okay? We're gonna create a concave arch of movement with the head of the hammer in space. That arch of movement is gonna move between your legs, all right? We're gonna shoot for a neutral spine. We're gonna fight counter rotation in this movement, all right? And what we're really doing is we're gonna focus here on pushing the earth away, all right? We've got a center line going up through the midline. That's our orange dot there. If you're new to this style of training, I think it helps to visualize a specific point in your body that is your center of gravity. Okay, I have an acting degree, which means I spent college with hippies. And if you envision that space as a ball of light, make it small, where is your center of gravity? As you're watching this video, you could stand up and just feel for yourself, where is your center of gravity? If you lean forward out over your toes, what does it do? How does that transfer your body weight forward and backward? All of that stuff is necessary as you develop the mind-muscle connection to be able to internalize the difference between good movement and bad movement, all right? But what we're gonna do is we're gonna have the center of gravity balanced over the midfoot. If we dropped a line from that place straight down, it's gonna go through the upper thigh, it's gonna go through right around the Achilles, below the gastroc in your calf, and into the middle of the foot. This is gonna stay roughly in the same place as we move through this movement, all right? The other thing that's gonna stay the same is the angle of my spine. What I don't wanna have happen is I don't wanna arch this up, and I don't want to get concave. Now I've drawn a fish and I have to get rid of it. Oh gosh. Okay, but that stuff is something we're gonna try and avoid. So as you are pushing the ground away, all right, we're gonna raise the hips ideally straight up by pushing down. Push the earth away. Really simple, right? That's the only movement, the only muscular drive that we're gonna do here, and you're gonna get a chance to see it when we get to the next section of the video. But you're just gonna focus on pushing the ground away. Whoop, break and chop. Okay, I think that the cue of pushing the ground away is a little bit more useful than trying to push your body up, especially if you're new to these style of movements. If you've done this type of thing before, you probably have already internalized this movement. You don't necessarily need a cue for it, but it's something worth thinking about, all right? As we push the ground away, what's gonna happen is the hammer in this position, all right? This starting position is called tripod, okay? The hammer is out in front of the body. The hammer is going to break contact with the ground, come back, between the legs and move into a position where the hammer, breaking chalk all over the place, where the hammer is going to be oriented this way, where the handle and the spine make parallel lines, all right? That's what we're ideally looking for. The arm in this position is going to be laid relatively flat against the torso with the forearm in contact with the top of the thigh on the same side of the body, all right? So as I'm folded into that position, I want my arm nice and tight to my body, okay? From there, once the hammer breaks the midline, that's when we're gonna cease pushing the earth away. You're gonna dip back down into this starting position, but gravity and inertia have moved the hammer to the back of the body, all right? To come back to front, all you're gonna do is reverse that motion and bring it back. What we're trying to establish is an understanding of my body is doing one thing, pushing the earth away, which is resulting in the hammer doing something else. If I keep a nice solid spine and my arm is neutral, but I'm maintaining the grip on the hammer, that concave arch is what's going to transpire, okay? That's what we're looking for. There are lots of different variations of this pulse that we're gonna use. I love this movement for warming myself up, especially if I'm training early in the morning, the legs are cold. This is a great way to get those legs woken up. You will do single-handed pulses between the legs. We'll do what's called an A pulse, okay? Where you're throwing the pulse and shifting your body weight out over one foot. That'll cause the pulse to make an A shape around one of your feet. We'll also do an M pulse. An M pulse is going to be that shifting movement, but instead of shifting just to one side and then back to center, we'll shift to the side, back to center, and then through to the other side. So if you're looking at the hammer in space, it looks like it's drawing a letter M. Those three movements are where we're going to get started with this pulse. So let's transfer over to the next part of the video and see what it actually looks like demonstrated.
All right, everybody. So we're going to take a look at a side angle view of this two-handed pulse. The purpose of the pulse movement is to train the body, if you've not done kettlebell work before, if you've not done swings, to feel how certain movements change the momentum generated by the hammer. So I'm just getting myself set up here. I'm going to do feet shoulder width apart, and my toes are about as far away from the head of the hammer as my feet are away from each other. Now what you see here is I'm going to set my shoulders back. I'm going to hinge at the hips. Okay, that's what that looks like. That's a hinge. Notice my knees are soft, so my legs aren't straight. Reach out, grab hold of the handle, and I'm going to tilt the handle back towards my body, making, ideally, a relatively straight line, okay, from my shoulders down to the hammer. Okay, so we want, not so much the elbows, but the wrists. We really want the wrists to be set in this position, all right? And then we'll take a different line and just kind of set it right there on the back. Now, I'm going to take two-handed grip, and all I'm going to do from this position is I'm going to push the ground away, all right? My back is still set, okay, meaning I'm not rounded through the back, but my back has raised up, and you can see that. My hips are a little bit farther forward, and then I'm going to return to that back set position. See, we're relatively close. I'm a little bit deeper in it, but what's happened is as I pushed the ground away, momentum took the hammer back behind my body. So now I'm dealing with a different angle for my spine. Okay, there we go. So as I keep moving forward, we're just going to be trading back and forth from this spinal angle to this spinal angle. All right, boop, right there. See? So as the movement continues to progress, oh, that sound is loud. I don't like that. That's what we're looking for. And in each rep, I'm setting the head of the hammer down. All right, that's what we're looking for in this beginning iteration of this pulse. And if you look, I'm making a curve. The hammer's coming off the ground. Oop. There's a dot. I need to get rid of that. The hammer is making a curve. All right. So I'm going to set up and turn a quarter turn so you can see it slightly more forward on angle. See, we're just pushing the ground away, letting momentum do what it's going to do. My arms are staying set, shoulders back in the socket, but I'm not lifting the hammer forward or pushing the hammer back. My pressing away of the earth is what's causing this movement to happen. And that's going to be a useful thing to know when we translate into more complicated movements later on down the line. All right, next variation of pulse difficulty. This time we're going to set up the same way, feet shoulder width apart, shoulder width distance from the head of the hammer. I'm going to get into this movement the same way. The only difference that we're going to find here is I'm not going to let the hammer touch the ground behind my body. I'm still going to pulse, so you're still going to see a dip in the hip. So let's reestablish our spinal angles here. We got that one, and then the one from lower is going to be a little bit deeper. Let's see how close I got when drawing the lines. Not bad. All right. But then we've got touch in the front. I'm dropping the momentum. I'm bringing it to a complete stop. As I stand, the momentum is going to pull the hammer back. All right. I'm going to dip that same pulse, but just short it, just shy of touching the ground. All right. So now I'm pulsing away from the ground again, and the hammer comes back to start. A lot of people will jump in and start trying to pulse no contact a little early. And some people do it and some people don't. But the important thing to remember with movements like this is we're training the body to do something habitually. We're trying to create a motor pattern that you do without necessarily conscious thought. So going through these drills is really useful in the beginning. Between a 2-touch pulse and then a single front-only touch pulse. All right. Shoulders are staying set back. My head, I'm trying to keep it fairly neutral on my spine. I'm not arching looking forward or looking down to the ground. I tend to pick a place, 7 or 8 feet in front of my body. Got to get rid of those lines. 7 or 8 feet in front of my body, and stare there while I'm doing these movements. Okay, so here we go again. And if the question you have is about hand position, because we're dealing with a single shaft style handle, one hand is going to stack on top of the other. There's nothing you're going to be able to do about that. Don't try and get these movements done with one hand grasping the other. It's just not going to work out very well. If you're dealing with sets, I'm doing 3 or 4 sets. I'll alternate hands between sets, and then it all just comes out in the wash. I have a tendency to start with my non-dominant hand first. There we go. Pretty easy. Third two-handed pulse iteration. We are going to do a no-touch pulse or standard pulse. Same setup, same lean in, same focus on keeping the shoulders pulled back and down, spine supported. I'm not going to be arching and flip-flopping all over the place. And you see now we're just dealing with the same pulse, same dip through the hip, but we're not letting the hammer touch the ground. And this is where you're really going to feel the quads light up. And just it's a micro movement. It's not a huge range of motion, but what it is doing is it's training your body to work in the confines of momentum. So here, the hammer is trying to pull me forward. I'm resisting. I'm sitting a little bit further back. As I stand up, the hammer comes back behind my body. Now it's trying to fold me in half. I'm resisting that, holding into a good position, staying nice and well supported. So this is going to be the third iteration of this pulse. If you were paying attention during the 2-touch pulse and the single touch pulse, this shouldn't be a big problem. This should be a natural progression. And as you move into more complicated movements, it's going to be really beneficial to have this experience of knowing how the body feels as the center of gravity moves around as a result of what the hammer does in space. That's really what we're looking for. Just teaching that autonomic system how these things work and what to feel, to give you a bit of a physiological lexicon of being able to say this feels good and this feels bad, or maybe just this doesn't feel good and I don't know why, but being able to go back to basics and have a place from which to jump off. No touch pulse.
So that is everything on the pulse. Again, I know it's redundant. I know I covered everything multiple times. You got to see it from multiple angles, but that's the point. I would rather have you have too much information than not enough. And remember, you can always reach out to us on the platform. By us, I mean me, and ask any questions that you have. I would love to see video of you performing the movements, and I would happily break down those movements and give you some pointers on execution. Happy hammering.